Hello, good evening and welcome to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. This bulletin is live from our studio here at Desanwe Kanda in Accra and also live around the world on 3news.com. Coming up this evening, President John Dramani Mahama speaks in the clearest terms yet over a possible third-term bid for the presidency, but questions remain.
If they want to ask the Supreme Court, that is their business. But I know that the people of Ghana gave me one additional term, and I'm going to work to meet the trust that they put in me.
You heard President John Dramani Mahama. They will give you specific details of what exactly he's been talking about. It has to do with whether or not he will want to run for a third term as president. Also coming up, the New Patriotic Party's caucus in Parliament vows to challenge and kill what has become a controversial tribunals bill following its endorsement by the legislature for presidential assent. Stay with us for the specific details on that as well.
Using the back door to bring in what we had run away from it. So how can you introduce a bill that says that the bill itself is controversial, that the tribunal system is controversial, and you seek to fine-tune it so that it will not be controversial? It is already...
It is quite controversial. The minority have had their say, but the majority actually had the bill passed late last night, and we have details of that for you as well. And in the final minutes of the show, we will tell you about significant happenings in the health sector as well as business and sports. My name is Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Safwa Boahini joins us with the news summaries. Hello, Safwa.
Hi, Martin. And to our first story, President John Mahama has questioned the decision of former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta to remain outside Ghana to secure his return, saying someone who believes they have done nothing wrong should not flee the country. Speaking during the citizens' engagement at the Ho Technical University as part of his research in Ghana tour of the Volta region, President Mahama explained that bringing Mr. Ofori-Atta back to Ghana depends on international legal processes, including extradition proceedings in the United States. Away from that, the president has dismissed speculation about a possible third term in office, saying his priority is to honor the mandate entrusted to him by Ghanaians. President John Dramani Mahama says his focus is on fulfilling the mandate given to him by Ghanaians, insisting he is committed to delivering on his campaign promises rather than entertaining speculation about a third presidential term. Also, Majority Leader Mahama Yariga has announced that Parliament will debate the upcoming 2026 mid-year budget review within 3 days, including Saturday. The Majority Leader made this known while presenting the Business Committee's statement for the 10th week from Tuesday, July 21 to Saturday, July 25, 2026. And away from that as well, the Mobile Money Advocacy Group Ghana, MOMAG, has urged mobile money agents to remain vigilant and strictly follow transaction procedures following an alleged cash swap scam that reportedly cost an agent 10,000 Ghana cedis. In a Facebook post on Friday, July 17th, MOMAG, recounted an incident in which a customer initiated a transaction but later claimed they could not reach the intended recipient and requested that the process be cancelled. To our last story now, where the Tema Oil Refinery TOR has received 1 million barrels of Ghana's indigenous Jubilee medium sweet crude to boost its operations. The cargo transported aboard the vessel MT Apache arrived on Wednesday, July 15, 2026, marking a major step in the ongoing revitalization of the nation's only state-owned refinery. And this brings us to the end of our news summary segment, and over to you, Martin.
Thank you very much, Safwa. And we settle for the details of our stories now, starting from that conversation about whether President Mahama is interested in going for a third term or not. And the president has been reacting to it, to the two writs in court on the presidential term. President Mahama said that the people of Ghana gave him a mandate for one additional term, and he remains fully committed to fulfilling the promise that he made to the people of Ghana. He said that although some people have sought an interpretation from the Supreme Court regarding the constitutionality, the constitutional provision on presidential tenure, his understanding is that the Constitution is clear. According to the president, the people of Ghana gave him a mandate for one additional term, and he remains fully committed to fulfilling the promise he made to the people. He was speaking in Ho in the Volta region on a 2-day visit of a place which he has termed Resetting Ghana Tour.
The people of Ghana gave me a mandate for one term, and I am working hard to meet the promises I made them. And so I always tell my ministers, I say, let's number our days so that we can work harder to meet the promises we made the Ghanaian people. I note that people have gone to the Supreme Court seeking interpretation of the clause that governs the tenure of the president. If you ask my personal opinion, I thought that it was clear enough. Me, I've read it over several times. It's exactly what it says, but if they want to ask the Supreme Court, that is their business. But I know that the people of Ghana gave me one additional term, and I'm going to work to meet the trust that they put in me. Thank you very much.
And that's President John Dramani Mahama yet again giving further clarity about the fact that he remains positive about the one term he's been given, an additional term he's been given by Ghana to be president of the republic, and that after this term he's stepping down. But the conversation has been that when the issue was sent to court, what the applicants who have sent the issue to court, who are seeking interpretation, are asking the court to interpret is that the Constitution says nobody has the power to run two consecutive. In fact, you can only run two consecutive terms. But if you look at President John Mahama's tenure, he has had two separate terms, and that's why they are seeking the Supreme Court to interpret whether he still can run, because this is the first term he has run and has the opportunity to run another term. So whatever the outcome of the interpretation will be, we await for that. And whether it will change the mind of President John Mahama, we cannot tell at the moment. But clearly from the surface of all the conversations, he has given indications that he is only sticking to the current term that he has been given by the good people of Ghana. On the issue of accountability, the president stated clearly that his government honors and actually abhors, I should say, the fact that we as a country need to work together to ensure that people who are giving the position to work stay responsible to the power they've been given. He indicated that no individual will be prosecuted because of political vendetta. However, where evidence establishes wrongdoing, the law will take its course. This is the president speaking about issues of accountability.
And so it shouldn't be like we're trying to hound our political opponents or something. We proceed on the basis of evidence we have received, and then the evidence is weighed, and if it is sufficient, there are many times we have reports and all that. Sometimes the evidence comes and it's not substantive, and so you say, if it's on the weight of this evidence, you cannot proceed to court, so discard it, or investigate further and see if there's something else that you have not found. But otherwise, if a case proceeds, and that is why the whole system of accountability is taking time, because you need to be thorough. By the time IOCO or OSP or somebody comes and arrests the person, it means that months of work have taken place reviewing the evidence. And so I just want to assure that accountability is still our #1 priority. But like I keep saying, the sword does not cut only one way. If we find evidence that any of our current appointees or persons working in government under our tenure also has abused the public trust, the way the sword is cutting that way, it will cut this way too. And so I always caution my appointees to be very careful. Be sure you follow the procedure, don't cut corners. And the point is, if you have any doubts, I tell the ministers every day, if you have any doubt, bring it to cabinet. Let's all look at it and take a collective decision on it. If you bring it to cabinet and we take a collective decision based on the wisdom of the president and all the ministers there, tomorrow nobody can come and hold you and say you did this on your own because you wanted to do this or do that.
And that's President John Dramani Mahama there. Let's go to the phone lines now and engage constitutional lawyer John Kwesi. Counsel, a very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Good evening, my brother, and thanks for having me.
Right. The president has again reiterated the position he has held, which is that he does not intend to run for a third term, and he acknowledges that some persons have taken the matter to the Supreme Court for interpretation. What do you make of his position that the Constitution is already clear and that in as much as they have the right to go for interpretation, he believes that his understanding of what the Constitution says is what he will go by?
Okay, thank you very much. On behalf of all Ghanaians, we would like to say we thank the president very much for that statement. But anyway, that is a partially made, half-cooked statement. Our prayer is that maybe from tomorrow, he comes back again to tell the whole country that he's no longer interested in contesting any third term or whatsoever. He's made that statement before. But then what came out today is a bit shaky in a way, even though he still didn't insist or make it that clear. He said in his mind, he knows we gave him one term. You see, the way the statement was made makes it a bit inconclusive. So we wish that he comes back again to either entertain the thoughts or dismiss the whole thing altogether for us to be clear in our mind. Because we are here and occasionally, otherwise some political actors or influencers may chance upon this opportunity to either persuade him to go for a third term or whatever the issues might be. People might be working around same because it's the same thing that happened, and then from nowhere we saw a citizen. We normally will conclude and say a citizen or an interested person has taken the matter to the Supreme Court. The same thing we had recently that revolved around the OSP and the Attorney General. I mean, we are in the system. So if the person that the matter will affect comes out clearly and let us know that he's not interested or is interested, then we can have a higher conversation. But as it is, my quick reaction will be that the position of the Supreme Court has been that before you can ignite their original jurisdiction as in interpretive matters under Article 130 of the 1992 Constitution, when you come to Article 2.1, the issue must be such that at least there is some dispute of a sort. You see, such that it doesn't have to be vague, and then welcoming the views or opinions of the court. There should actually be a contention that somebody is interested in something, but along the line, his or her right have been curtailed. And for that matter, we are running to the Supreme Court to interpret or make a pronouncement on such a decision that will affect the individual whose interest is being affected. We have cases that came up 1992. As soon as the Constitution came into being, one person took the matter to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court was like, they don't just give opinions for opinion's sake. There should actually be a matter before us that somebody has an interest somewhere, and then that interest is being sat on by another, and that they need the intervention of the court to come in for such a dispute to be resolved. To for an Attorney General also, prior to the Constitution that we have, in 1979 also, a similar thing happened to for an Attorney General. Then we came along again, we have MPP versus the Attorney General also. So there are precedents. It's not like we haven't had instances like this before.
Right.
Again, the most important thing that must reign supreme. I heard the preamble that you read. I will wish you take your time and reread it again. The portion that talks about the fact that the president should either go a third term or not. In the U.S., we have a similar case. You see, our democracy is purely built on bits and pieces from the USA and then the UK, importantly. Now, the aspect that talks about our presidential setup, let me say, is a caricature form of the American system. In America, because they didn't want to avoid they didn't want to cross carpet or cross lines with any ambiguity, they came very clear with it.
Right.
Okay, and then they said nobody should be voted for. They had to use the voting this thing just to clear any interpretive miscarriages and so on and so forth. Okay. So once they vote for you once, and then they vote for you twice, once they've been first voting, second voting, you don't even go back again, let alone to go and seek any interpretation.
Okay.
But in our instance, because maybe they said you can't run for 2 consecutive times, maybe in the reforms, the constitutional review reform, we should also import some of these specific provisions, right, so that in future you and I do not have to come back on some of this. But I think the whole thing depends on the president coming back clearly, because he's made 2 statements. The previous one was the effect that he wasn't even interested in any third term.
Right.
But with the statement that came today, he wasn't emphatic. You see, okay. And it's a two-sided. So
there's still an issue of interpretation there.
We will need a president. We will need a president to come clear on that.
All right, Mr. Kwesi. Thank you.
Hello?
Thank you for, yes, I can hear you, and I think the submission and the clarity you bring to the subject settles the question. Thank you so much. And John Kwesi is a constitutional lawyer there, helping us with some legal perspectives as regards the interpretation being sought at the Supreme Court about whether running 2 consecutive terms is what the Constitution actually meant, or you can run now and run another time again so that it becomes 2. So let's now get a political, understanding of what this means. Joining us now on the phone line is Dr. Jonathan Asante-Okyere. Doc, as a political analyst, first of all, thank you for joining us. As a political analyst, how do you understand what the president said? Is it cast in stone that he clearly does not want to run again, or like the lawyer just said, his latest comments are subject to different understandings?
There is no ambiguity in the statement of the president. In as much as, let's say good evening to your listeners and to your good self. In as much as he appreciates the fact that some individuals have gone to the Supreme Court seeking interpretation regarding the constitutional provision of the presidential tenure. In his view, he says, my understanding is that the Constitution is clear. What is clear? What is clear is the fact that you cannot go beyond 2 terms. Look,
hello, Doc. We seem to have just lost Dr. Jonathan Asante-Okyere there briefly, so we'll try and reconnect the line with him so we get him back to conclude his submission. But clearly, the idea is that he believes the president's position is not ambiguous. It is straight to the point, which is that he is not interested in running for a 3rd term. And like I indicated, for those of you who are not following, in fact, there are 2 cases at the Supreme Court seeking interpretation of what our Constitution says regarding who can run for president and whether or not they can run, for a 3rd term, especially when it comes to issues of whether you run now, take some time off, and then you can come back and run. they say that the Constitution mentions consecutive terms. So you run your first 4 years and then a second 4 years continuous. If that does not happen and you run 4 years, you go off for maybe 8 or 4 years and come back again to run, does that mean the same thing captured in the Constitution? So those are the two cases at the Supreme Court are seeking interpretation, and the president says that he has heard that some citizens have sent the issue to court to be interpreted and clarity brought to it, so that then whether he can run again, the court can bring clarity to it. But President Mahama, at his submission, gave the indication that he, as John Dramani Mahama, is only fulfilling the current term he has been given by Ghanaians, and that he hopes that the promises that this current administration made to the good people of Ghana, they will be able to fulfill it to the best of their ability, and that he actually does not have any further interest in running again. But the conversation is whether or not that settles the matter when it comes to John Mahama. We are told that Dr. Asiedu-Dartey has joined us again. Doc, yes, you were making a submission that there is clearly no ambiguity with what the president said today.
Yes, Mr. Dartey, I don't see the ambiguity. He says that he's aware of what some individuals or some citizens have decided to do, seeking interpretation, as far as the constitutional provision on presidential tenure is concerned. But in his understanding, you see, it says that it is clear. My understanding is that the Constitution is clear. Now, if somebody makes that statement, the Constitution is clear. What does the Constitution say? The Constitution says that, one, you are given a mandate of 4 years. That is the term. But if you get opportunity to run again and you win, it is 2 terms, nothing more. Now, if you want to cure a particular mischief by suggesting that the word consecutive is the one that you are going to seek interpretation in terms of it, whether it is creating ambiguity or not, I think that is where the mischief is. But how do you interpret a situation where somebody who has had 4 years earlier, which is a term, then he's come and is going to have another 4 years? It makes it 8 years. If he gets another term from now, so that it becomes consecutive, that would have meant that he's done 12 years. And that is unconstitutional. That is unconstitutional. What is so problematic about this? This is the second time the president has spoken about this. Look, it just happened that the Chief Justice was removed through due process. The very first person who spoke about this third termism was Mr. Afenyo-Markin, and that he was suggesting that, well, because the president wants to have a third term, and that's the more reason why they are removing the Chief Justice. And now you hear the General Secretary of the MPP suggesting that, well, the arrest of Mr. Miracles is just to pave way. Can you imagine? This statement is inherently illogical. And I believe that a General Secretary will have to get some tuition in logic. And as a lawyer, logic is part of the training. Unrelated variables. How do you make such a comparison and a wide claim? Besides, within the party itself, I don't think that the president will even hazard such, a mentality or a guess. I think it is a trap. It is just to create a situation where the goodwill that he has with the masses of this country will erode. Because if he does attempt to get the Constitution cleared for him to go for a third term, he should bear in mind that he will lose that election.
Right. But, Doc, we know that the president has spoken. Even when he said the first time that, oh, no, he clearly is not interested in running again or going for a third term. But there were people within his party, those who actually voted for him, and of course with the help of quote-unquote floating voters that pushed him beyond the line to win. People within his party were like, he has spoken too early, and that based on the kind of work he has started doing, they believe that they would expect and would even work to support him to run again. What then do you say to these people? Or you say they should stick to what the Constitution says, no more John Mahama for another term?
You see, the term is very tempting, right? Especially when you're doing well. But there is a thin line between love and hate. You see how lovers easily become enemies, die in wool enemies. That is what is likely to happen to him if he makes any such attempt. Disregard those comments from the party or within the party. I think that it is just over enthusiasm. Is because the president is performing so well and he had that massive victory. Of course, then it means that they can, throw in such
rhetoric.
I think that it is something. If you listen to the General Secretary of the NDC, he even said to the effect that even the founder of the party, who came from a military background, did not even think of a third term, let alone the other generations that have come. So it was just to let individual grassroots people who are trying to stoke such a debate to nip it in the bud. I think that the president has already made it quite clearly. Is point blank on the issue. I don't see the need for us to be, generating these things, unless maybe it is for political strategy, right? If it's for political strategy, then we may have to understand why such a debate is ongoing. Maybe I may have to sit down and look at the political strategy, of such a debate. Is it to, create a situation where the MPP will be caught off guard, and then somebody else will emerge, and the president will say that it's time, it's getting close, and then he's going to leave. It could be a political strategy. Of course, it is a political strategy on the part of the MPP to create disaffection for the president.
You have just one.
And that is the political analyst and lecturer, Dr. Jonathan Asante. Unfortunately, we would have to leave it here for now. We thank you for your thoughts and submissions, as always, on these matters of national interest. So, just by way of clarity, let me read to you what exactly the Constitution says, which the President says he has read a number of times and has his own understanding, but does not begrudge those who have gone to the Supreme Court to seek interpretation. So it says that the 1992 Constitution, Clause 65, says the Electoral Commission shall be constitutionally mandated, make regulations for the purpose of giving effect to Article 63 of the Constitution. 66 says a person elected as president shall, subject to Clause 3 of this article, hold office for a term of 4 years, beginning with the date on which he is sworn in as president. And then 2, a person shall not be elected to hold office as president of Ghana for more than 2 terms. So the word consecutive actually does not appear in the Constitution regarding whether or not you go one and can go again. So far as this particular individual, based on the surface interpretation, so far as this particular individual has had their first term as president for 4 years, whether they do it consecutively or they go and come back again and have another 4-year term, the Constitution says a person shall not be elected to hold office as president of Ghana for more than 2 terms. So that settles the conversation or the debate on the face of it, but we still wait to see what what exactly the interpretation being sought at the Supreme Court will bring or will let us know regarding this particular issue. The president has spoken. We'll leave it there for now and shift our attention to other stories regarding issues of the tribunal. Yesterday, there was a heated debate in Parliament, and many of you who watched Ghana Tonight from 10 p.m. could tell that even as of 11 p.m. getting into midnight, Parliament was still in session. When we come back from this quick breather, we'll look at what exactly the concerns of the minority are, for which reason they walked out of Parliament when the tribunal's bill was being passed. Stay with us. You're listening to Hot Edition on 3FM. 92.7 is the dial. 3FM is the station. You're listening to Hot Edition. We're going on to the story. The minority in Parliament has given the strongest indication yet that it will legally challenge some provisions in the tribunal bill if President Mahama assents to it. The ranking member on Parliament's Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee, Martin Asiedu-Dartey, speaking on TV3's News Central, disclosed that the minority caucus will soon announce its official position on the legislation, arguing that there are unconstitutional clauses in the bill. His comments come after Parliament approved the tribunal's bill, which has sparked debate over some of the issues captured in the some of the provisions and other constitutional implications. Parliament on Thursday, that's the 16th of July, passed the tribunal's bill despite stiff resistance from the minority, which boycotted the approval process. Let's listen to the minority's ranking on this Constitutional and Legal Committee in Parliament and what argument he's been making.
If it has become now that they have passed it, we will think about it. We'll come out with a statement for Ghanaians to know, and most likely that will go to court on the constitutionality of some of the clauses in the bill. Now that they claim to have passed the law, it is right for us to push so that the president, the president would want to leave a good legacy. Having come first term and this is his second term, I think he should leave a good legacy. We will come out with press statements and whatnot, and we would also write to the president and urge him not to append a signature to this controversial bill. And I hope he listens. If he doesn't listen, then we would have to file a writ in court and test, and that's what we have to do.
So you heard the voice of Martin Asiedu-Dartey, who is the minority ranking or the ranking member on Parliament's Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee. Let's now recall that, you will recall that on Thursday, the Trades Union Congress also voiced its opposition to the bill and say that they were asking government, or the Attorney General for that matter, to completely withdraw it from Parliament. This is the Secretary General for the Trades Union Congress, Joshua Ansah, who was briefing the media regarding their reservations that they have against the tribunal's bill.
And 142 are no longer relevant. The TUC recommends that the entire article and other consequential references to regional tribunals must be expunged from the Constitution. In its final report to government, the Constitution Review Committee recommended that the regional tribunals be de-established from the Constitution. In the considered view of the committee, the High Court has been handling the caseload of the regional tribunals. In the face of these clear recommendations, both by TUC and the Constitutional Review Committee, it is baffling to us that government is attempting to activate the tribunals.
And that is the Secretary General of the Trades Union Congress, Joshua Ansah. And you, for those who follow the conversation, you would also, you must have heard Apenyo marking the minority leader and even some members of the opposition saying that if labor unions like the Trades Union Congress say they are averse to the tribunal's bill, why is government insistent on at least still passing it? That is the reservation they hold strongly. But Wisdom Safo of our research department joins us in studio to help us go through some of the key details of this particular bill. You would know that this is not the first time that Ghana actually has the tribunals, but it is not a new bill this government is introducing. They seek to, if you heard the Attorney General, activate. They say they want to activate the tribunal's court system from the circuit to the regional. So, Wisdom, thank you for joining us. First of all, we know that this is not a new bill, but how was it when it was initially passed and when it was active in previous times?
Very well, Martin. So if you look at this tribunal system, it backdates to somewhere around the 1981 to the 1992 period. And you know that period was marked by coups, deters, and all that. So that was when the tribunal system was very predominant. So it was under the PNDC era, the Provisional National Defense Council, from the 1981 to the 1992 period. But the main aim of the tribunal at that time was not the same aim we have currently, or this new bill seeks to achieve. So at that time, it seeks to prosecute corruption charges, those who were charged with maybe armed robbery, crimes, and political offenses. But this particular tribunal bill has a different motive, and that is to fast-track the backlog of what cases and criminal offenses that are still pending in our court. So you remember yesterday there were issues raised by both the minority and the majority side, and you recall Honorable Kofi-Boah, as well as the leader for the majority side, Ayariga, saying that it is, and in fact, the Attorney General also mentioned that it is important because we have a backlog of 3,000 legal cases every single year, and we need a fast-track court that will necessitate the adjudication of justice in that as well. So let's quickly go through the structure of this tribunal. If you look at the tribunal bill that has been passed, it has two levels. It has established two levels, which is the regional tribunal, which is equivalent to, it has the same powers as the High Court, and the district tribunal also have the equivalent of the circuit court. So for the appeals at the regional tribunal, all appeals are when maybe the decisions of the tribunal you are not okay with, you want to appeal it, you have to take it to the court of appeal. And for the district tribunal, the appeal, you send it to the regional tribunal, right? Then look at the composition of the regional tribunal. So for the formal composition under the regional tribunal, it is it will consist of one, the Chief Justice, secondly, one chairman, and other members designated by the Chief Justice who may be lawyers or non-lawyers, right? However, the actual panel hearing consists of the chairman and at least two members of the panel as well. So that's the composition of the regional tribunal. Let's quickly look at the jurisdiction. So the regional tribunal will have concurrent original criminal jurisprudence or jurisdiction with the High Court. So the jurisdiction of the regional tribunal is equivalent to that of what the High Court as well, Martin.
Right. Wisdom, thank you for that analysis you've brought to us, and at least bringing us what used to exist and then the new one that has just been passed by Parliament. The Honorable Asiedu-Dartey, former Attorney General of the Republic, has joined us for a quick conversation on this. Honorable, a very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Good evening.
I certainly assume that you may have a position on the introduction or reintroduction of the tribunal court system. The opposition say that they have issues with it. In fact, as of yesterday, they say that Clause 4 was their biggest bone of contention, for which reason they walked out of the House. It has been passed by Parliament. What do you make of this as a former Attorney General, looking at how developments have played out?
Well, when I was contacted, I made the point that I have not myself seen the bill in order that I can compare with the earlier ones. But the problem we had then, before the Constitution, was that it was like weaponized against certain individuals. The executive had so much control over the tribunal system to the extent that it was not seen as an independent body. So when we wrote the new constitution, we tried to bring all of them under one judicial council with a right of appeals and all that. And then at the point we decided to just abolish it and then bring them under the mainstream court system, judicial system. Unfortunately, the constitution left the provision of a regional tribunal still standing, although the personnel were, as it were, brought into the main system. All those who were then former tribunal chairmen were integrated into the judiciary, and they were no longer referred to as tribunal chairpersons, but rather as high court judges. You know, and the idea was that people were not very happy with the way his system worked. I don't know whether still they are going to have laymen sitting with the chairperson, because these laymen may be politically influenced and may not even understand the law. So at the end of the day, you leave everything to the tribunal chairperson, you know, which is the same as one judge of a high court or whatever. Although they tell you the tribunal with one trained lawyer with sitting with two laymen and all that. So people, we were not generally happy with the way it went. If you remember, the boycotted it when it started because it had no appellate body. Whatever they said was final. It was after a long while that they introduced an appeals body, you know. So it didn't have any good record and reputation. You know, people, they were sending people to death by shooting, by firing squad and things like that. And at the end of the day, they exposed themselves when some people said that like they were being, you know, guided, you know, by the executive to just say what they want to say, not based on evidence. I don't know why these people are so much, you know, inclined in bringing it back, because all you need to do is to increase the number of courts, and that has been ongoing for a very long time. It accelerated during the time of Justice Yebua. Accra, we didn't have high court. We had no court in Dansoma. Now, but he got us a court. We had no court at Adenta, but we got high court and circuit court at Adenta. Then Amasaman, we had a high court in Amasaman to deal with almost all those cases around those Garura areas, you know, Amasaman, Adenta, Dansoman. So we kept opening. I hear there's one that is it Medina, not the old Medina, this one. The place, Adwa Safo's constituency, they even opened one there. So what's the point? If you want to increase the number of courts, you can increase them. But if they want to show us that they are part of the PNDC or they are revolutionary or they are parties, which is why they want to introduce it, I don't understand.
Right. But,
you can always open more courts.
One of the arguments they also push hard is that the kind of backlog we have is one of the reasons why we need these tribunals. But you have also just alluded to the fact that then you need to increase the existing courts, or you need to create more courts or build more court complexes so that the cases can run faster, because you have already absorbed those who were hitherto working in the tribunals. They believe that cases like Galamsey issues would be easily treated, especially if it's in a particular area or district. Then they can deal with it quickly at the tribunal. It doesn't have to travel all the way to the High Court or even to Accra, which seemed to have been the area where most court cases come to. You do not agree with that argument?
No, it's not true. It's not true. Courts all over Mampong, High Court. You know, I was Attorney General. Apart from that, I was at the bar for a very long time. I was the National Secretary of the bar for 3 continuous years. So as for court expansion, we kept doing it all the time. But it goes with so many things. First of all, I remember when my people in Krowo asked for a court, and I went to see the Chief Justice to discuss it with him, Justice Abad. He said, oh, it is not the problem is the premises. What do you call the courthouse? And our thinking is that if you have premises, then we send you the personnel to come and man it for us. So the judicial what do you call it? It is the district assemblies and the
local
chiefs
government
and the
authorities.
The local government authorities. Do you remember, if you have been in Accra, that we used to have a number of courts which were being held in palaces. Osu, if you remember, Osu, Manchester Palace, James Manchester Palace, Gam Manchester Palace. They gave all of their homes there to be used for what do you call it? Courts. So, then from the time of the new before then, a building, I didn't even increase it. The more courts were built. To the extent that we increased the court in Kumasi, the Court of Appeal, you don't need to travel to come to Accra. And then we could always have a permanent court, the appeals court in Kumasi, which is what is happening now.
Okay.
You know? I don't know whether the one in the Tamale or something is also working. I have not been a frequent court goer in this. I don't know if solicitors work. I think they were thinking of sending one to Tamale. I don't know whether that is also there for the northern part. And then there is Kumasi, but I used to be at Kumasi, which catered for all those places. And then even we opened some appeals court also in the eastern region. Then we had one in the central region, and then in the western region. You know.
So the problem is not about having courts. It is that there are clear reservations that must be looked at if government insists on introducing the tribunals bill, or the tribunals court.
We don't need them. It's just a matter of increasing the number of, designating them. And as I said, I don't know whether it is the same idea of trying to bring one lawyer sitting with two lay persons. I don't know whether that's the same thing they are bringing back.
Okay. Like you indicated, it has now been passed, so maybe we all have to read and understand what the new bill is. Then we can further advance the conversation. Honorable, thank you so much for your time this evening.
My pleasure.
And you heard the Honorable Ni Ayikwe-Otu, former Attorney General, and like he indicated, he's been at the bar for a long time. So legal issues, he has quite a grasp of it, and giving us some perspectives on the the Tribunals Bill, which has been passed by Parliament, and the conversations about it for and against continue. The arguments continue. The NPP has said that if they are elected into government again, it is one of the bills they will reverse, or one of the laws they will challenge again and have it reversed. As to whether the country would have a tribunal system, court system, is one thing they disagree with. So if the NPP does come to power again, they will certainly scrap it. What do you make of it? What do you make of this development and arguments that have been made for and against it? Do let us know in the comment section. We'll be happy to let the rest of the world know your thoughts as well. This is 3FM 92.7, and yesterday it was quite heated following how both sides of the House argued strongly against it. The minority even ended up walking away or walking out of Parliament because they thought that the Clause 4 specifically was an issue they disagreed with. The Honourable former Member of Parliament, Yusuf Hussaini, has joined us for a quick chat. He is a private legal practitioner as well, former MP, Tamale Central. Honourable, very good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
On which side of the debate do you stand? We are already increasing our high courts to absorb the concern of the case loads. But this current administration believes that another way of dealing with it will be to introduce the tribunal court system, which has actually been passed, albeit with some high level of opposition. Where do you stand on this debate?
Well, I think that the opposition to the passage of the bill is an afterthought. Because I've read the report, the joint report, or the report of the Joint Committee on Constitutional, Legal, and Judicial Committees of Parliament. And their conclusion was that the bill be passed into law. And it was not by division, it was unanimous. So the minority's opposition to the passage of the bill, to all intents and purposes, is an afterthought.
That's an interesting position you share. That seems clearly at variance with the argument they are making now, making it look like it is now, like you're saying, that they are hearing of it for the first time, but they have not raised this opposition in time past.
I said that the starting point for this conversation is to go for the committee's report. The bill was read the first time on 26th of June 2026 and referred to the Joint Committees of Constitutional, Legal, and the Judiciary Committee. They met with the minister, they met with the technical team, they proposed amendments, they agreed with the rationale for the bill, the lacuna in the judicial system that they want to deal with, that is to deal with the caseload and also expedite trial on the violation of the Minerals and Mining Act. They inputted into the bill at the committee level and unanimously agreed that the bill will pass into law.
So then why this opposition? Sounds quite surprising that all of a sudden they are raising concerns about it. But
so when the committee did that, I'm sure, I believe that when they came out, they saw politics in the bill, and then on the floor of the House, they set up to play politics. But at the committee level, there was no division. There was no objection.
Right. And maybe finally, is there any legitimacy in the argument they make that this seems to be, an introduction of a court system that will target the opposition, whereas they say that already the high court system is to cater for all the major cases in the country, but from the proponents of this particular bill, they say it will handle issues like galamsey, regional and district issues that may specifically would not need to come to.
So the proponents of the bill are quite clear in the rationale. The bill is to handle criminal cases and handle violations of the Minerals and Mining Act in an expeditious manner. Ensure that the rights of citizens, due process, rule of law, animates this procedure in the courts. Indeed, the regional tribunal is already in existence by virtue of the Constitution, Article 142 to 144. It's already in the Constitution. What they have done is to align the creation of the district tribunal with the regional tribunals that already exist. And the regional tribunals have defined functions. And until the regional tribunals were rendered defunct by reason of the repeal of the Courts Act that created the district and circuit tribunals, we did not hear of violations of fundamental rights or targeting. We did not hear that, did we? In fact, I practice in the district tribunal, I practice in the circuit tribunal, and I also practice in the regional tribunal. And I can tell you as a matter of fact that until Kufuor came into office and rendered them obtuse, rendered them dysfunctional, and in the regional tribunals, and amended the Courts Act to remove the district and circuit tribunals. These tribunals were the most patronized because ordinary human beings could relate to those decisions. Now, the tribunals are not a different creature from what we know in the administration of justice. A trained judge, a lawyer, precise as chairman of the tribunal and determines questions of law. The tribunals, the panel members determine questions of fact. And so due process is going to animate the procedure in the tribunal. The establishment of the tribunal by our constitution has to be consistent with the dictates of the constitution.
Right.
So they can't establish a tribunal that will treat people differently. It cannot be done. So all that they are talking about, I'm telling you, is politics.
Right.
You know, who spoke to you earlier knows that when the tribunal under the Fourth Republic were in operation, no record of violations of fundamental rights of persons were recorded in those tribunals. But they have a historical aversion to the establishment of the tribunals.
Okay.
And we can understand that.
Right. Honorable, we are grateful that you made time to speak to us and bring some perspective to this argument. Certainly we'll continue for some time, but we'll see how it all plays out. The Honorable Yunus of Hussaini, thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
He is a private legal practitioner, former member of parliament for Tamale Central, and we've been told that clearly now that it has been passed by parliament, the bill will be sent to the office of the president for assent. Then it becomes law and binding. But as opposition conversations continue, would at least give a hearing to all of them, and also let us know what you make of the issues that are coming up regarding the new bill that has been passed by Parliament, the Tribunals Bill. Your thoughts are always welcome. Remember, you're listening to 3FM 92.7. This has been Hot Edition. It came your way from our studio here at Adisawe Kanda in Accra. We have also brought you other big stories making headlines, including that controversial component of the Constitution regarding whether or not the president can go for a third term. It has been dismissed. The president says he does not have interest in that. And then the conversation about the tribunals. If you go to our website, 3news.com, you have details of all the issues we've brought to you this evening and several other stories. My name is Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Thank you very much for listening. Bye for now.